What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. This is Ready to Love, Season 5, Episode 7. So, it's Ladies' Week, and they meet down to the lounge, and Tommy tells them, listen, ladies, now is the time. We are over the hump. We are more than halfway through this process. Now I want you to take your tops, and I want you to have them meet your friends. So here's the problem that I'm having with this season. Last season, when they did this part of the exercise, I pretty much knew who was going to choose who. I knew who was everybody's tops, or at least in the realm, right? There really wasn't anybody that I was like, well, I don't know who that top is. I don't know who that person likes. But this season, the only person that I knew was going to be a top was Cornelius and Camille. Everybody else, it was sort of up in the air. I knew Sabrina had a couple of good connections with Walter, but then she, wasn't quite sure. I knew that Phil and Aisha had like a little connection, but hell, come to find out, Phil connected with everybody. We're gonna get to that in a second. So when we talk about on our panel on Saturday mornings over on Commission Reviews channel, when we talk about that this season, there seems to not be a connection, that we don't seem to be as connected to the people, and we don't seem to really feel like we're getting everything. This is an example of that. How many of you all can honestly say that you knew who was going to pick who to go meet their friends outside of Camille and Cornelius, and maybe Sabrina and Walter? Who else knew? I mean, honestly, it was up in the air for me for a lot of these people. Hell, no disrespect to Shiloh, but I forgot she was still on the show. And that's no disrespect, boo. That's how they edited it. It ain't you, it's them. So anyway, let's get into this. So the first couple we saw Sabrina. Let me get to my notes. I know I'm trying to. We saw Sabrina meeting up with, first we saw Zadia and her friends. They met down to the Top Golf. I done been to that Top Golf. Y'all going places that I done been to, child. I ain't seen nobody filming. I didn't run into that, but I was there. Her friends are Stacy and India, and she's meeting up with Naeem. Now, in hindsight, we know that Zadia and Naeem did have a couple of good dates. So, okay, Zadia and Naeem. All right, good. And it seemed to go really well. Her friends, they had some questions. Some hard questions for him, but he seemed to do really well with the questions. He seemed to answer them, and he was even a little bit, giggling and kikiing a little bit, So I was here for that. I was like, okay. So that one seemed to go well, okay. Then we had Sabrina. Now Sabrina brought her whole tribe. Okay, Sabrina didn't bring one person too, but she brought the tribe, okay. She had Dana, Malik, Angel, Layla, and Sherelle. I said, well, damn. Now, let me say this. I'm going to be honest. I think that was too many people at one time. Because she met with Walter first, and then she had Sean come through second. Now, I'm going to say a couple of things about this situation. Walter did well, okay? I think Sabrina is probably Walter's number one, at least from what I'm seeing. And I think Walter is kind of Sabrina's number one. I think she entertained Sean so that she didn't lock in and she wasn't pulling a Camille. But I really feel like Walter is her number one, right? Walter did really well. They asked, her friends even asked Walter, well, who are you most connected to in this process? And he didn't even hesitate. He said Sabrina. And I found that interesting because when somebody else asked him that later on, he was like, well, I'm really trying not to say who my number one is. I'm really trying not to, give an idea of who's no, that wasn't him. That was Phil. My bad, Walter. That wasn't you, bro. That was Phil. Ooh, that was Phil. We're going to get the Phil. But I feel like his answers were very honest. He came across as very genuine. And her friends picked up on that. Her friends picked up on that. Now, when Sean came through, a couple of things that I didn't think were really fair about this whole scenario. Number one, Sabrina, I love you, boo. Sabrina be dropping down in our panel. Shouts out to you, girl. But Sabrina, I didn't think it was fair for you to give your friends any sort of a heads up in reference to the comment he made. Because first of all, I understood what he was saying last week when he said he asked you about kids. You said no. He said he wasn't. He was kind of on the fence, but he was leaning towards wanting kids. And he said that in the past he has allowed himself, he's allowed himself to get caught up in feeling for somebody and liking somebody and going against his better judgment because fundamentally they didn't want the same things. But he's trying to not make those same mistakes. And yes, he likes Sabrina and he's attracted to her. But what he doesn't want is 3 months from now for him to run into the mindset of, well, I allow myself to get caught up in my emotions and how I felt. Well, ultimately, we fundamentally just don't want the same things. That's what he was saying. But I feel like what you said to your friends, now they was on go. And Sean did walk into a firing squad. Like, he absolutely did. And I do feel like they was coming at him really, really hard. Like, it was a lot, you know? And I know if that were me, I mean, hell, that was like when you go into a job interview and it's a panel sitting there and they just rap. They throwing questions at you. You're like, well, damn, I wasn't ready for. I did not know that this is what I was walking into. Now, I think it would have been better if it had just been 1 or 2 friends and y'all just had that conversation. But I feel like you got them revved up and then they were on go. And he finally was able to explain that part of what he was saying about the whole kid situation. But honestly, I said this in my review, well, the week before last. I said this in my review then. It probably should have been a no-go once y'all fundamentally realized that y'all didn't want the same thing. If you know that the kitchen is closed and he still want a midnight snack, then he in the wrong kitchen. You don't want kids. It is a no. It is an absolute, it doesn't matter. I'm not changing my mind. It's not happening. And he's like, I'm pretty certain, 99% sure that I want kids. Didn't y'all have a, like, that's a non-negotiable, and y'all have a fundamental difference. And I think if people would be more honest about their non-negotiables and be honest about what it is that they can and cannot bend on. Now, granted, we filming the show. I get it. You know, that we filming the show, and so I think some of this might be because we film it and not so much how either one of them would move in real life. That's just my opinion. But ultimately, Sabrina was like, I felt sorry for him because it was just bad. Like, I felt sorry for him. And she did come in at the end and try to defend him, you know, because her friends were like really trying to make him make some life decisions. And he like, okay, I just met you last week. Like, I'm not ready to sign over my name. Like, I just met you last week. Like, let's calm down a little bit. So ultimately, that didn't turn out too well. I think one of the other questions they asked him was about, well, is he a provider or is he in a position to be a provider? And he was like, I can pay a bill or two. Listen, bruh, I don't see nothing wrong with that answer. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm a different breed. Maybe I'm just a different kind of chick. But again, they have been on one day, and you asking this man, like, what did you want him to say? Yeah, I'm going to take care of all her bills and my bills too. And I think that was an honest answer for him to say, listen, if me and Sabrina start dating seriously, like, before we get to blending bills, we got to do some other work. So, yeah, like, I mean, I might be able to help her with that cable bill or something. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, y'all. I'm tripping. All right, I'm going to let that go. So, anyway, that just did not go too well at all, okay? Then we have Camille with her friends. Of course, Camille took Cornelius' child. Now, listen, Cornelius being there wasn't the interesting part. I'm going to tell you what was the interesting part. The interesting part was before Cornelius got there. So, we had Terry, Tennille, and Crystal. Now listen. Come on, you a liar. I said it. You've been running around here this whole time talking about no sex before marriage, no sex before marriage. You ain't getting my goodies, no sex before marriage. Even when you went on that date with Walter, you were clear about no sex before marriage. And your friends busted you out in the first 5 minutes when you said something about being celibate and no sex before marriage. And your friends looked at you like, And then you had the nerve to sit in your confessional and say, well, you know, I do like to try all my clothes before I wear them, or however she said it, because I don't want to be on my wedding night talking about some, ooh, that's small. So that is totally different than everything you have been saying this whole process. So are you saying that you want to be celibate and that you don't want to have sex before marriage because that's what Cornelius is saying? Or are you trying to do something different because you've always done it that way? But when you said it, see, and I would have gave you the benefit of the doubt on that until you said in your confessional that you need to try your shoes on before you wear them. See, that's the thing. That is the thing right there. I said, oh, so she just been looking us in our face and just lying. There's something else where she was talking about that her friends were talking about how she gets tired of men easily and how she moved from man to man. And then she said, but he's a good guy. And they were like, yeah, but you get bored with the good guys. And she was like, but not him. I'm trying to do something different. So no, not him. And I'm like, yes, him. Yes, him. I said, see, this that bullshit. Camille, you a liar. You want some whole nother. But anyway, that was it. It don't matter because we already know what that is, child. Moving on. So we have Sydney and Frank. Now, Sydney met up with her friends Dallas and Ashley. Listen, I'm going to call bullshit on this Sydney and Frank situation. I feel like Sydney and Frank knew each other before the show started. There might have been a little bit of flirtation there. Sydney said that she knows that Frank always liked her. I think Sydney knows she coming in here late. She coming in the process late, and she need to go ahead and stake her claim real quick. I think Frank ain't really made a serious connection with nobody else, and so by default, they're gonna go ahead and see what's up with each other. She said, well, he's been interested in me for a while, and I never really gave him the time of day, and so now I think, maybe this is the right time. I call bullshit. Y'all know each other for how long? And y'all ain't never try to, hook up or do nothing. Then Frank gave that old bullshit job interview answer. You know how on the job interview where they say, what would you say is your worst quality? And you look real sincere, and you look at the person interviewing you and you say, I just work too hard. I just work too hard. Sometimes I don't know how to shut it down. I'm always thinking about that next thing. I'm always trying to. That's that bullshit answer that interviewers be sitting there like, and they writing in their nose bullshit. Okay, they asked you what do you think your worst quality is in a relationship or something, and you talking about something. I just care too much, bruh. I care too much. Really? I care too much? Bruh. Anyway, so that's what that was, child. But her friend said that they feel like he just was saying, just giving them the answers that they wanted to hear instead of the answers that they needed to hear. And I felt the same way. I was like, yeah, we playing games right here. You just giving me anything. You just throwing some bullshit on the pile. Bloop, bloop, bullshit. Bloop, bloop, bullshit. Anyway. Moomin, and I know I'm so sorry, I keep wanting to say your name right, but she had her friend Robin, and she said Robin's been married for 20 years, and she really respects Robin's opinion and all that good stuff. So she had Dante and Walter. Now, I'm going to say this. I feel like this was a production set up by Todd. I don't think Moomin, I don't think she came up with this, but she had Dante there first. And then she had Walter come in. And, of course, Walter ain't know what to expect. He didn't know that he was walking in to this situation. And he was uncomfortable. You could tell he was uncomfortable from the beginning. Like, how did this happen? How did I get here? Like, why am I here? Excuse me. Dante was like, holding her hand. And he was saying all the right stuff, And I feel like that was where the connection was more there. Now, once Walter, after Dante left and Walter was sort of having his one-on-one, he opened up a little bit more. But they asked him a question about, are you ready to, you ready to settle down and make a decision? And he was like, I'm ready to see if she the right one to settle down and make a decision. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to make sure I got the right people. But again, you could tell by the way he wasn't rude or anything, but you could tell by the way he was interacting with Moomin and her friend. It was so different from Sabrina and her friends. And so it really just let me know who they were interested in, who he really was interested in. So that was kind of how that went down. Then we had Phil. Listen, Phil is the Kyra of this season because Phil went out on a date with Tasia, Aisha, and Shiloh. Now with Aisha, it was her friend Chantal, Kayla, and I can't read my handwriting. Her name started with an M. Mickey, I think. Mickey. I'm sorry, Mickey. I can't read my handwriting, child. And Phil, he sweet talked them, they was smiling and grinning by the end, and they was here for it. They asked him about being a stepdaddy. They asked him about, what he looking for and settling down and stuff. And all of them asked him who his number one was, and he did a good job of dodging and ducking that question. Tasia was with her friend Makia and Gabby, and then Shiloh was with her friend Ayana and Helene. And again, I really don't feel like Phil has a strong connection with any of them except for maybe Aisha. I think that he got picked because that's pretty much, Phil clearly has been working overtime on these phone lines and these outside situations that production ain't showing us, because for all three, it was kind of like last year with Kyra. It was like, where did Kyra come from? Like, we didn't even see Phil, I feel like, for 2 episodes, but all of a sudden, it's 3 of the women Phil is their number one. Like, that's a lot. That's real interesting. And none of these women had a backup. Like, you see how Sabrina chose 2 people and Mumin chose 2 people. Baby, ain't none of them choose nobody else. It was just Phil. I said, okay, that's about to be a whole situation and a problem. So we get back to the ladies' lounge, and again, listen, it was going down in the ladies' lounge this week. Okay, the ladies were saying how it's time to start tightening it up. It's time to start dwindling it down and seeing who we really feeling. And Zadia was taking offense to it because she felt like people was talking to her directly, and she was like, if you're talking to me, then I'm gonna respond to you. And she felt like they was coming at her specifically, and she was like, I don't have to dwindle down nothing. I don't have a list. I have my top 2. Here's what Aisha, boy, ain't got a list. If you got more than one, it's a list. So you do have a list. Well, I don't have to dwindle down nothing. I don't have to make no decision about nothing. And she really was coming, and Cecile was like, oh, bro, like, your whole energy is here. You don't have to be up there. You can bring it down a little bit. Like, I don't understand why you being so aggressive and rough right now. Like, why we doing this? Why we up here? Bring it down 1,000, bruh. And she was just like, well, ain't nobody gonna tell me what I need to do. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do when I do it. And like, I feel like the rest of the ladies was like, girl, what? And it could be editing, y'all. Maybe a whole lot was said before they showed it to us. But it did seem like Zadia went way left for no reason. Like, it was like quick boom. It was like tick, 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 boom, right? The other thing that I thought was interesting was when they were talking about who they wasn't feeling. Of course, Sean's name came up. But Cornelius' name came up. Cornelius' name came up for the obvious reason. Everybody was like, listen, he's made up his mind. He's made his decision. He's not even open to talking to anybody else. He's not open to spending time with anybody else. There have been women that were interested, and he sort of ain't, like, really, going there with them because he's locked in with Camille. And of course, Camille is sitting there making all these crazy ass faces and stuff. And I said it in my review last week, and I understand, again, we were on the panel talking about it, and every review brought up a good point that the whole purpose of this is to find love and make it to the end. So they found love, now they're just trying to maneuver their way to make it to the end. And that's a valid point, but it's also about playing the game. It's also about participating in the process. Neither one of them are really participating in the process at this point. They're just trying to duck and dodge and hope their name don't get called so they can make it to the end. Listen, if you came here to legit find love, then you legit found love. Bow out and go on your separate ways. Like, that's my opinion. Now, again, they're going to have to just eliminate one of them. And I don't know. I feel like last week Camille should have been eliminated. I feel like this week Cornelia should have been eliminated. But I guess we ain't ready to do that. So the bottom 2 was Sean and Cornelius. And I knew Sean's ass was going home. Tasia said they went on their date and Sean didn't even call her. She ain't heard from him. He ain't text, call, send an SOS, a smoke signal, or nothing. And he was like, well, and honestly, if you cut through the bullshit of what Sean said, because child, it was Cornelius and Sean, they gave Cornelius another chance and they eliminated Sean. But if you cut through what Sean said, to make a long story short, Sean was like, listen, after that whole firing squad I went through with Sabrina, I really disengaged myself from this whole process. This ain't for me. This ain't how I move. This ain't how I work. This ain't how I date. He said, I really liked to see her. I really thought she was a nice lady. But, I got to work my way up to this stuff. And I'm thinking, what you working your way up to, bruh? You know you are in a competition. You have a limited amount of time to make. You already came in late. I just feel like he disengaged from the process. I just do. I feel like he just got in and realized this just is not conducive to me. But anyway, that's what it was. Y'all let me know what y'all think, though. Drop it in the comments. Peace.